Hi, my name's Spencer Casimir. Thank you for coming, first off. Both of you obviously agree that Chimerica exists, and yes, it's broken. So I was wondering, to each of you, how you would correct that or patch up those wounds.
I will start on this one. I think that there are the reactions, fortunately, from a historical perspective, I think, fortunately or unfortunately, the crucial variables are largely within U.S. capacity to affect. Because I think on one source of friction we've been talking about, which is sort of the profligacy of the U.S. economically and whether this scares off the Chinese, this is within America's power to do something about it, at least theoretically, at least constitutionally the U.S. can do something about it. That secondarily, on dealing with the issues we've mentioned once or twice, but I think actually is the most important issue between China and the U.S., the environmental climate issue, there is a receptor in China for the right kind of approach from the U.S. And I think if I were king of U.S. policy, this would be the main thing the U.S. were doing with China right now, is working together on climate issues. That's something the U.S. can do. And then third, more generally, in steering the unstoppable rise of a great historic power, the U.S. can work in ways that make this as non-disruptive as possible rather than magnifying disruption. So I think the U.S. has surprisingly many of the variables within its control.
I liked your distinction between the theoretical ability of the United States to stabilize its fiscal policy and its actual ability, because it seems to me that its theoretical ability is of no real consequence here. The problem is that its actual political ability to stabilize its fiscal position is non-existent. I mean, the politics points to trillion-dollar deficits as far as the eye can see. Equally, the Chinese show no sign of allowing their currency to appreciate. They want to continue to play the money printing game. I mean, think of this as a contest between two printing presses. There's Ben Bernanke printing away dollars to try to get the US economy out of a potential depression. And the more he prints, the more the Chinese print, because they don't want the dollar to slide relative to their currency. So they print yuan. The two great powers are engaged in the most extraordinary money printing exercise I think there has ever been. And the ultimate consequence of this, can I just finish, Jim? The ultimate consequence of this continuation of incompatible economic strategies, it seems to be much more likely to be divorce than Jim has allowed in his remarks.
In fairness, the vast money printing exercise is going on in the second coming of the Great Depression, which is just when you would want the big economies to be printing money. So it's not like this is happening in 1997 or 1999 or whatever. So this is the right time to be printing money.
But watch the conflicts increase. Watch the complaints on the Chinese side as they see the deficits grow from 1 trillion to 2 trillion, as the debt burden rises up to 100% of GDP. Watch the Chinese grumble more about SDRs, and then watch the rest of the world grumble more about China's trade surplus. And currency manipulation. Notice Tim Geithner hasn't used that word currency manipulation, that phrase currency manipulation, since the day he became Treasury Secretary. But the Chinese are still manipulating their currency.
They are controlling their currency. They're controlling their currency. And it's
You're spending too long in China.
They're spending too long in the academy. There must be some fine ground between too long and too short.
So then